It's Ash from Super Videos, back for another video for The Last of Us on HBO. On this video, I'm gonna go through everything that we know so far about the series. We're gonna take a look at the official synopsis, talk a little bit about the cast and crew that are gonna be involved on the show, as well as talk about potential and confirmed stories that are gonna be coming up on the show, which includes both Ellie's backstory from the Left Behind saga in the game, as well as additional Joel backstory that we didn't get in the video game. So stay tuned, we'll be right back to break this thing apart. Alright, as always, before we jump into this, if you're not a subscriber and enjoy the content by the end, consider subscribing to join our community, share and smash the like button, and press the bell to be notified when I upload on the channel. The other thing I want to say is Saturday, September 25th is actually Last of Us Day, and there's been a lot of rumors circulating that we might get some Last of Us content, which may include a trailer, which would be freaking awesome. So if you are interested to not only get my reaction on the trailer when it comes out, but also if you're interested to watch my breakdown of the trailer, make sure to keep an eye out tomorrow, because I will probably be putting something out if they do in fact release like a trailer. So with that said, let's waste no more time and dive right in. So the official synopsis of the show reads, the story takes place 20 years after modern civilization has been destroyed. Joel, hardened survivor, is hired to smuggle Ellie, a 14-year-old girl, out of an oppressive quarantine zone. What starts as a small job soon becomes a brutal, heartbreaking journey, as they both must traverse across the US and depend on each other for survival. Now, if this sounds familiar to you, it's probably because this is pretty much the synopsis of the video game. So that's great in many ways, because it obviously means they're gonna bring in the story that we all fell in love with, and they're not gonna change things too much. So that's great. We're all looking forward to watching what we fell in love with in the first place. We're gonna see the main storyline from the video game come to life. Now, that doesn't mean they're not gonna change things up and possibly expand on certain things and tweak things here and there. One of the directors said something that I thought makes a lot of sense. He said that we can't just take the video game and adapt it directly on the show, because it just wouldn't work, or something to that effect. And what I think he means by that is, let's say there's a part of the game where you spent maybe like 3 hours scavenging an area in order to get to your final destination. That obviously can't be done in the show. Like, they're not gonna have an hour of Joel and Ellie just scavenging, because that's boring. So what may take hours on the video game, they may do in like a scene or maybe a part of the episode, or they may even skip it altogether and just show the outcome. This goes back to what I said about them tweaking things a little bit and expanding on things and shrinking things in order to make the story from the video game fit into a TV adaptation. Now, based on behind the scenes images that we looked at on previous videos, we know for a fact that they are doing the prologue from the video game, where we saw Joel and his daughter dealing with the fall of society when it first happens. Now, this is not confirmed, but based on the behind the scenes images, it just fits. I mean, in one particular behind the scenes image that we have on the top left, we see Joel, Tommy, and Sarah in a car, and it appears that they're shooting the scene from the prologue where they're trying to get out of the city. We also see a roadblock of some kind on a highway, which is the picture on the middle, which could also be from the same scene where Joel, Tommy, and Sarah are getting out of the city. We also have another behind the scenes image of a town transformed to look like the part of the city that we saw in the prologue, where Joel is carrying an injured Sarah. So those are the bottom two left pictures. And also based on some snapshot that came out, we do know that they're building some sort of a set where they're making a house look like a house that's been burned. That's the picture on the top right, which could be that exact scene from the prologue where Sarah watches a house being set on fire as Tommy, Joel, and Sarah are driving out of the city center. We also do know that they have built an extensive set piece which looks identical to the part of the video game where we're inside the quarantine zones that the federal agency had set up. So it also looks like we're definitely going to see a little bit of that quarantine zone story from the beginning of the game, which is obviously after the prologue when we get the 20-year time jump, which obviously also connects back to what we saw on the synopsis about there being a 20-year time jump. Before we get into potential stories in the TV version, let's talk about the cast and crew. So if we actually go to the DGC website, which is the Director Guide of Canada website, which is an official website, so the information there is legit, we can see that the directors that are going to be involved on making The Last of Us are Craig Mazin, obviously known for Chernobyl. Now, one thing I do want to say about Craig Mazin and Chernobyl specifically is the reason why I think they chose Craig Mazin for The Last of Us, given that he worked on Chernobyl, is because the Chernobyl series was very well known for being able to take scenes from a real event and bring them to life and make it look genuine. And I think what Craig Mazin did on Chernobyl is to direct scenes that get you immersed into the environment and kind of makes you feel like you're part of the environment and you're one of the people that are there. So I think that's one of the key reasons why they brought him in. One of the key factors in bringing The Last of Us video game to life and adapt it to a TV show is to get us to be immersed into the environment. So I think that's the reason why they brought him in. The next director is Jasmila Žbanić. I hope I pronounced that right. I haven't watched too many of the things that she's worked on, so I can't really comment on this particular director. Next up, we have Kantemir Balagov. Again, I don't know too much about this director. I haven't watched any of the stuff that he's done, so can't really comment about that. Next up, we have Neil Druckmann, who's obviously the director and creator of The Last of Us video game, so it makes a lot of sense for him to be involved. Next up, we have Peter Hoar. Now, I have heard of Daredevil, but I haven't watched it, and I haven't really watched any of the other stuff that he's done, so I can't really comment too much about that, but I do know that he's a director that's well known for his work in the action/thriller, and that kind of fits in with The Last of Us as well. Last but not least, we have Ellie Abbasi. I don't know too much about his work either, so I can't really comment. Now, his name is not on the DGC website, but another source did say that he will be directing. Final thing I want to say about this part is that it's completely reasonable for a TV series of this magnitude to have multiple directors. Usually, when you have a multi-season series, it's very rare that you have one director going all the way through, directing all of the episodes. So that's why there's that many directors for the first season. These directors will not only be directing one episode, they're probably going to be directing multiple episodes because there's going to be, I think, 10 episodes per season. I do note that the first 2 episodes are most likely going to be directed by Kantemir Balagov, the premiere for sure, but not sure about the second episode. But the other episodes haven't been officially confirmed in terms of who will be directing them. The music and score for the show will be done by Gustavo Santaolalla. I hope I pronounced that right, but his work was obviously on the Last of Us video game, so it makes a lot of sense for them to be bringing him in. Last, we're gonna talk about the cast of The Last of Us as of now. We have Pedro Pascal portraying the role of Joel. Obviously, Pedro Pascal is known for playing the Mandalorian. If you think about it, this is pretty much a typecast to have Pedro Pascal play Joel because in many ways, The Last of Us story has a lot of the same story elements as The Mandalorian. So bringing Pedro Pascal in to play Joel is a safe call. I love the actor and I have no doubt that he's gonna knock it out of the park. All I'm trying to say is that this is a typecasting. Playing the role of Tommy, Joel's brother, is Gabriel Luna. I think a pretty solid casting there as well. We have Nico Parker playing Sarah. not too much to say there. I don't know the actress from anything, so I can't comment on that. We have Bella Ramsey playing the role of Ellie. Now, Bella Ramsey is known for her role on Game of Thrones, much like Pedro Pascal. He was also on Game of Thrones. The Last of Us being on HBO, we begin to see a theme in terms of the people that are involved on the show. But I'm not gonna spend too much time on that. I'm definitely very intrigued to see what Bella Ramsey is gonna do and how she's gonna play Ellie. I think unlike what most people think, the role of Joel is a safer character to play than the role of Ellie. Like, if they completely mess up on the Ellie actress, then no matter how great the rest of the cast is, the show may not really hit. So because of that, I wholeheartedly hope this is a good casting. I think it will be. I have a feeling that she's gonna also knock it out of the park, and she's gonna surprise a lot of people who doubt this casting. But there is definitely that uneasiness when it comes to this Ellie casting. Next up, we have Merle Dandridge playing the role of Marlene, also a key character, especially at the beginning of the show. We also have Anna Torv playing the role of Tess. I haven't seen these two actors in anything, so I can't really comment on the casting itself. But that's pretty much it. That's everything I wanted to talk about when it comes to the casting. One final thing I want to say is Bella Ramsey actually posted this image of herself, which is pretty interesting because if you take a look at her eyebrow, which I think is what she's focusing on with this picture, we can see that she may have the same scar on her eyebrow as Ellie did. So that's pretty awesome. So with that said, let's talk about potential stories that they might be doing on the TV version. Let's take a look at the DGC website again. We can see that one of the rumored shows that's possibly planned is Left Behind, set to start in October, and the type of production is TV movie or new media, which is very interesting. Now, it doesn't necessarily say that there's any connection to The Last of Us, which is also being filmed, and it's interesting that they separate it out, but I mean, it could definitely be Ellie's backstory from the video game, the DLC called Left Behind. It's not 100% confirmed, but this is extremely interesting. That's all I'm gonna say. The fact that it's a TV movie on its own makes things a little interesting. Maybe they're planning to do the main show, and instead of spending time with the Left Behind story in the main show, they're gonna do it as a TV movie. That's a possibility. Also, the other thing I want to talk about is potential expansions of the story. Based on some information that is available in some sources online, it appears that they are expanding Joel's backstory a little bit before the 20-year time jump. And it appears that they're gonna give us a little bit more in terms of Sarah and Joel's relationship and who they were as a family before they had to deal with the fall of society. Similarly, we know they might be doing the same thing between Joel and Tess. It appears that they are expanding the story that we saw at the beginning of the 20-year time jump, and they're gonna give us a little bit more in terms of Tess and Joel's relationship and what they were doing in that time before Joel went on this mission to smuggle Ellie out of the quarantine zone. Again, similarly, they might be doing the same thing with Billy. We might actually get an expansion of Billy's story and possibly see him pretty early on build his town and kind of see how he ended up being in the position that we saw him in when we first saw him in the video game. There's also possibilities that they're going to give us a little bit of backstory for the Fireflies, which is the big organization that is heavily focused on in both part 1 and part 2 of the video game. And last but not least, it appears that they are expanding a part of the story where Joel and Ellie have to go through the city where they're confronted by a gang who attack them and steal from them. In the TV version, it appears that they're actually gonna come across a biker gang. There's gonna be a story revolving around Ellie being kidnapped and Joel having to go after her and find her and rescue her, which is not necessarily quite the same way as it went down in the video game. But that's pretty much everything that I wanted to go through in this video. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, make sure to share and smash the like button. If you're not a subscriber, subscribe to join our community and press the bell to be notified when I upload on the channel. And keep an eye out tomorrow for possibly a trailer reaction and a trailer breakdown if they do end up releasing any trailer for The Last of Us HBO show. So that's it for this video. See you next time for another super video.